and gentlemen, the 3 knockdown rule is back in effect. I'm Steve Kim, and he's off the deathbed, rising like the mighty phoenix from the ashes after we had to cancel last week. I thought you were on your deathbed, but he's back.
Dramatic.
Mario Viva Lopez. What happened last week?
Whoa, we're getting there.
Yeah.
Dude, turns out you can get bronchitis from allergies. Okay, so that's what I've got. I've actually got bronchitis right now. That's why I've been coughing up a storm. Then I got to go see a cardiologist, believe it or not.
Ugh.
The doctor told me, not to deviate too much, he said, are you excessive with coffee and spicy food, and do you have a lot of stress?
Yes.
Check.
I said, that's me in a nutshell. I have too much coffee. I put salsa on everything, and yeah, I'm always under stress.
He had a jalapeno lodged in his nose last year.
Yeah, oh my God, that's a story for another
He had
day.
to go to the school nurse.
Yes, that's right. Not the school nurse, the nurse here on campus at Universal.
Wow.
And more on Mario Lopez Viva later.
Yes, absolutely. But let's go back. We didn't get a chance to talk about this last week. We are in the zone on August 10th at the theater in Grand Prairie, Texas. Virgil Ortiz. Mario, if I was a stockbroker, I would call Virgil Ortiz Apple in 1994 after he stops Antonio Orozco in 6 rounds. This is one of the best young fighters in all of boxing.
I agree. And you know what? This was truly a step up for him. Not only in caliber of opponent, because Orozco has only lost.
One loss, Jose Ramirez.
And a very competitive loss that went the distance. He not only was facing a higher caliber of opponent, but also the pressure of having to fight in his hometown, which there's a lot of intangibles that come with it. A lot that not so positive. It can weigh on you and the pressure. I thought he handled it all beautifully. He came across. He. It's funny because he lets his hands go and they're fast and furious, yet he's still composed, if that makes sense. He looks very composed as he lets his hands fly. And for like a long, lean guy, he measures distance really, really well. And I thought after that first right that he landed on Orozco, I thought it was going to be possibly a short night. But to Orozco's credit, he came back, was very well prepared, fought tough, got on the inside, landed a couple big shots himself, ended up keeping him on the ropes for a while. But then it's like he took it to another level in the 6th round, and he hadn't got past the 5th round in his career. So, I'd still like him, obviously like to see him get few rounds in there. But what I've seen so far, I really like from this kid. And I thought afterwards in the post-fight interview, too, he was a little hard on himself, but I'd rather a kid be a little tough on himself than a little too confident and boastful. So everything about him, I really like.
Just 21 years old. And look, I said this on our last show. Forget the power. That's evident. But he's got speed, quickness. He's got boxing IQ.
Yes.
And from a personal standpoint, look, I'm still very high on Teofimo Lopez, but we know there's a lot of issues, a lot of turmoil. As it relates to Ryan Garcia, he's extremely marketable, but I wonder about the focus. To me, him and Devin Haney seem to be the most stable of the blue chip prospects. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. Overall, they've got a great foundation, great support system. They seem to be very focused, disciplined for young kids. As far as like Teofimo Lopez, I think a lot of the antics from his father and what have you might, he got married recently, which could anchor you and maybe settle down and have you a little bit more focused.
Yeah.
Let's hope that's the case. And with Ryan, I mean, he's our first sort of look at an Instagram star prior to being a boxer where the hype precedes the ability. It's not that he can't fight. It's just there's a lot of hubbub considering the adulation he's getting now. So I'm curious to see how he develops. But yes, I'd say Virgil Ortiz is number one if you need to check off all the boxes.
Yeah, right now he's in the WBA top 10. This was for a WBA gold belt, which is a fancy way of saying we're going to charge you for a higher ranking. I think the timing works out perfect here for Golden Boy. Because if they take, let's say, 12 to 18 months to keep nurturing him, by the time he's ready to fight for a title, Manny Pacquiao's going to retire. Errol Spence is going to be moved up. Terrence Crawford's actually talked about moving up. He fits right in.
Yeah, the Terrence Crawford moving up, though, I want to discuss a little bit more of that later, more on that. But yeah, I think it's great timing for him. And he is so young.
And a message to Golden Boy. Take care of this guy because he is your number one prospect.
Well,
You've got to have other guys besides Canelo. This is your next franchise fighter.
I thought it showed a lot of class on his part, and he was very cool to give the certain shout outs to Michelada Time, our boy Robert
kind of a
Diaz,
little shade there,
and it was in social media had fun with all that, but he seemed to be very respectful towards his promoters and the opportunities that he's given. So that was nice to see as well.
Absolutely. Mario, we'll talk about the stadium later, but I was at the Bank of California Stadium this past weekend, and still the WBO 122-pound champion is Emmanuel Navarrete, knocking out Francisco de Vaca in 3. Mario, there are 3 major belt holders at junior featherweight. Danny Roman, the Empire, is unified. You have Ray Vargas holds the WBC, and the WBO with Emmanuel Navarrete. Who's number 1 in your book?
Wow, that is a talented little weight class right there. And I say little with all due respect. I don't mean because they're little guys.
Big little men, little giants.
Well, no, because Navarrete's a big, long, lean guy, and so is
Ray Vargas. Flacco, yeah.
Yeah, so, by the way, that'd be a fun fight, and they both let the hands go. I'd love to see how that fight would pan out. I think he's dangerous against any of those opponents. But all 3 of them are pretty solid, Kim.
Yeah.
They're all pretty solid. He really stepped up and looked great. We talk often about how it's how you look when you win. And, man, that was a fun 3 rounds and an action-packed back and forth, and put an exclamation point on it. So, a nice splash he made as far as the big stage.
Navarrete burst on the scene with 2 victories over Isaac Is My Dog Bay. And sometimes guys just have other guys' number.
Right.
The thing that was impressive about what Navarrete did here is if you have an overmatched opponent, you're right, it's like football. If you're a 28-point favorite, blow that team out 42-7. That was a 42-7 type of knockout.
That's pretty good math right there.
Absolutely, yeah. I am Asian, by the way. But I'm saying he covered the spread. He made the impression that you want. And why I take him over Vargas, stylistically, he lets his hands go more clean combinations, more action.
Well, Vargas does that. He doesn't hold them back.
Vargas, he's Miguel Vasquez 2.0. He's death to watch.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not
is
saying
much
that.
more entertaining.
I agree with you, but Vargas is effective. So that's why I'm saying, after seeing him in the StubHub up in person, I'm like, that fool's effective. May not be most exciting, but the kick can box.
For right now, on the Kim ratings, I would take Roman and his 2 belts, number 1 at 122, and he has a history of what I call Mexican Paul Bunyan. He has chopped down taller opponents like Jamie McDonald and a couple of the Japanese guys. But a very good division. Listen, you also have guys like Guillermo Rigondeaux, who all of a sudden his legs are gone. He's not moving as much. He's in good fights. So there's a lot of interesting fights to make at 122, like a guy that we see at Wildcard, Crazy A, Azad Hovhanessian, who is a rough night at the office. Bank of California Stadium, last year, you and Doug Fisher, along with Beto, hosted the Canelo-Golovkin rematch workout. And I remember being there on the floor thinking, this is pretty nice. I wonder how a fight would do here. You know what? Like Ray Kinsella, Field of Dreams, stage it, and they will come. And I talked to some people at Top Rank. They love this venue, and you get yourself a legitimately big fight. Like, let's say, Oscar Valdez, Miguel Burchelt. That would be an electric atmosphere. What a nice facility.
Why not a Canelo Triple G? Why not a Pacquiao fill in the blank?
Yeah.
Right? I love that venue. I've gone now a few times, not only for the event you just mentioned, but for the LAFC games, which, by the way, are a blast.
Yes, and great atmosphere.
Great. Probably one of the best sports experiences in LA, to tell you the truth. And on a warm, beautiful summer night, it was awesome. I wish I could have been there. That same night, coincidentally, was UFC 241, big card down in Anaheim. Is there anything to read into that Terrence Crawford was at the UFC fight and not at the fight that his promoter was hosting in LA?
In all fairness,
because when I saw that, because I was watching UFC, I was like, oh, what's Terrence Crawford doing there?
Terrence is Sinatra. He's going to do it his way.
I know, but
he does like UFC. He has a wrestling background. His son's into it.
Wait a minute. He has a wrestling background? Am I just learning about this?
He goes to a lot of meets with his son. I don't know if he actually wrestled, but if you go on his social media, his son is like a national championship level, whatever age group.
I'm a bigger fan. Really?
Right.
I'll come to find that out.
And in fairness to Terrence, listen,
if it was another card, if it was Golden Boy, whatever, I'd be, okay, fine, I get it. But being that it's his own promoter, I didn't know if I was meaning to call you about that night.
In all fairness,
did other people mention it to you?
Wasn't the greatest top-ranked card, okay?
Nevertheless.
I've seen Terrence at a lot of top-ranked cards in other cities, far away from Omaha. So he's been a team player.
And
but
it
you're
was
right.
a big UFC card.
Right, and
it
the
was a big
optics,
UFC
right?
card.
Do the optics look 100% positive? Not really.
Right.
You know, another thing I like about the Bank of California Stadium is that the sight lines, I kind of walked around, there's not a bad seat in the joint.
I was going to ask you, I know there's not for soccer. For how did they stage the ring right in the center?
No, like
or-
the workout, right in the corner.
Oh, got it.
Now,
Got
for the
it.
bigger fights, you're
Got
right.
it.
You move it towards the center,
Okay, right in the
midfield
corner.
line, and you
Perfect.
could put in bleachers.
Right in the corner. You see great.
And a lot of my friends were there. They came away. If it was a Yelp review, it'd be 5 stars.
I heard nothing
They
but
loved
positive things. The venue itself is worth just going.
Yeah.
And so if you have, we had fun when we just were there for not the weigh-in, the training.
Yeah, the workout.
The workout of Canelo Triple G. So I can imagine, like I said, the LAFC games. But, that's cool. Interesting that it wasn't in the center, which, yes, I'd love a big fight to be staged there.
Yeah, and by the way, I love their concessions. It's almost like a 7-Eleven. You actually go there. Now, because I was walking around with some friends. They don't have you go up to a cashier where you order, well, I'll take a bag of peanuts and nachos and a Zima. No, you actually go to a refrigerator, take out whatever you want, take out whatever you want to eat, and then you go to the cashier. And let me tell you something, that line, it ain't the DMV on a Monday.
Dude,
There's an
great.
efficiency there that I'm like, modern technology.
I'm a big fan of that.
Yes.
That stadium.
And by the way, top-notch restrooms. Lines were very short, very efficient there, too.
I know that's important for you.
So they've done some good things. Mario, you know what is not a really great fight atmosphere in my view? And on the night of December 14th, I plan on not being there. Saudi Arabia. I will not be taking my whatever.
Well, I'll tell you what. They're not gonna have a lit after party. That's for sure.
Oh boy, that'll be dry. Eddie Hearn announced the rematch between heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua will take place what they're calling the Battle of the Dunes. Look, boxing has a long history of going where the money is. Larry Merchant taught me that long ago.
Well, you can't get more money than being in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, but here's blood money. And look, even Ali, Foreman, Rumble in the Jungle, look, they had a dictator by the name of Mobutu who's already murdering people. And the story is that where the fight grounds were, underneath were like the graves of a lot of
burial
people.
grounds,
I'm just like, I have to be honest with you. Eddie Hearn is a promoter. His job is to create the most amount of revenue for everyone involved. But even by boxing standards, is he crossing the line in your view?
I don't think so. And not to deviate, but it makes sense in this point. I'm into jiu-jitsu and I like MMA. There is a certain tournament that happens every 2 years. It's called the ADCC, the Abu Dhabi something championships. Forgive me for not remembering. Anyway, it's a big, big deal in the grappling world, and it's ran by the sheiks from there, and everyone and it's held at a different place every year. It happens to be in LA this year, but they look forward to it. They embrace it in that community because it's got the most money. It's financially the most rewarding. So the sheiks want to do their things own way. And I know it's a different form of combat sports, but they say it's ran beautifully. The prize money is the biggest for them. And if something like that transfers, I don't know if it's the same sheiks. I know there's a lot of them there. It should go off without a hitch, and they know what they're doing over there. I mean, they got a lot of money, and they've got the resources to get the best people. Obviously, it's not something you get fired up for as a fan if you wanted to attend in person, because it takes a minute and, all the other reasons and stuff. But if you're going to enjoy it, the thing I like about it now is that we'll probably get the main event about, 2, 3 in the afternoon, right?
No, I think they're adjusting the time that it won't be.
Oh, no.
It may not be the afternoon. I'm not.
I was fired up about that, because then we could have a nice little bocce tournament
I
and
think
party.
it's more late afternoon now.
That's okay.
Now, here's the
That's
other
okay.
issue, though. What do they say about doing the tango?
Takes
two.
It takes two. It takes
Okay,
two.
that's Rob Bass.
No,
Now,
that's not Rob Bass. It takes two to make
Expose,
a thing. There you
or-
go.
yeah,
no,
by
you're
the-
thinking of it takes two to make a thing go.
Okay, but with
Yeah.
that said,
Come on, you like the 80s references.
Andy Ruiz is balking big time. And in fact, he was supposed to show up to the gym
I know,
yesterday.
but why?
Well, because
It's not like he has home canvas advantage.
No, but the other thing is, look, it is Saudi Arabia, and I don't think the fact that he's only getting, quote, only 9 to 10 instead of more, because Eddie's making a big score with this. And even his trainer's like saying, Steve, none of us want to go to Saudi Arabia.
Well, yeah, no one.
But,
okay.
but contractually, that rematch clause was agreed to before the first fight. I've actually read a boilerplate Matchroom Sports agreement where all they do is just change the names. It's absolutely legally, they don't have a leg to stand on. The venue and the
course.
other terms and the date are set by Matchroom Boxing.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves in sports. not just in boxing, in general. You have a contract.
Live up to it.
You got to live up to it. Honor your word. And then afterward, when it's time for renegotiation, that's different.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, there's many examples,
I know,
not just
yeah.
Melvin.
That's just current.
But you're right. That's upsetting me too. Yeah, live up to it. So Ruiz, with all due respect, and I love the guy, but my man, you're not going to be seeing that money anywhere else.
And if he's upset about the deal, he should talk to his advisors and his management who agreed to the terms in the beginning.
Exactly. You got to direct that energy there.
Also, this past Friday night, I had a chance to spend some time with Tyson Fury, the lineal heavyweight champion. I asked him, from a fighter's perspective, would he have any issues fighting in Saudi Arabia?
Not really, because I'm a prize fighter. And I go wherever the fights are made. Look, Muhammad Ali went to Zaire, Africa. He went to Manila.
Yeah.
He travelled all over the world. He boxed in Ireland. He boxed in England. To become a global superstar, you must travel and get on the road.
Yeah.
It's all right staying in your own country, in your own comfort zones. Get out there and travel the world and fight.
So, Mario, obviously Tyson Fury says, listen, I'm a prize fighter. Wherever the biggest prize is, I'll fight. I have talked to someone
Antarctica, let's do it.
who is working out some of the issues, who's in the promotion. He says there are logistical issues. I didn't know this, but when you get to Saudi Arabia, that if your passport says you've been to Israel, you're not allowed in.
You know, I was supposed to
And
go to
that actually affects a couple of judges that they want.
You know, I was supposed to go to Abu Dhabi, right?
Right.
And I was in Israel this past year.
Oh, so you got nixed.
It became an issue. And I was like,
Yeah,
whoa,
right.
now I could never go to apparently any Arab country. And so I learned a lot about that. Not only that, did I show you the list
Of
that
can't do's, don't
of
do's.
the can't do's,
Don't
not
do's.
do, no holding hands, public displays. You can't act drunk outside. I mean, there was a long list. And by the way, if you went to Israel, you're not allowed in.
Right. And
Which is
so-
good to know now, as opposed to when I get there.
And they still have to figure out who's going to be the commission there.
Yeah.
The medical procedures.
Yeah.
The drug testing, I believe, is going to be VADA. So it's not just easy. It's not like just a circus where you just plop a tent and have the 3 rings and you come to town and you put on a show. So when it's all said and done, I'm with you, Mario. As much as Andy Ruiz may not like the current deal, that's the deal that he signed.
Exactly.
And that's the deal I believe that he will have to agree to. Fight preview this Saturday from Russia with Love on ESPN+.
Niet.
The WBO 175-pound title is on the line. Sergey Kovalev takes on his mandatory challenger in Anthony Yardhouse. Now, Yardhouse is big. He's strong. He's picturesque. He looks very interesting on the mitts. I think he's very, very untested. I think Kovalev, with his jab and his seasoning, is going to win this fight. Mario, the question is, and we'll talk more about this young man later, but if Kovalev wins, from what you know, you think he gets Canelo November 2nd?
I can't believe Canelo actually, and this is, I know this for a fact, really wants Kovalev, who thinks he's fallen off. I'm
That's
like,
their top choice.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Based on this last fight, when he was working
Yeah.
with Buddy McGirt, because he didn't look like he fell off to me. And that was a heavy-handed, tough dude that he beat.
Yeah.
Convincingly. So I don't know what he's saying, and I love the bravado and the confidence, but he's all wrong for us, baby. We don't need that kind of man in our life right
dropping the
now.
Duke on that one. And
Right?
I don't disagree with you. I don't understand it. First of all, you're a legitimate middleweight champion. You have a secondary belt at 68. What makes him think he can be Mexican Bob Beamon and just make that long jump all the way to 75?
And he's not even a
I
big.
don't-
He's not even a big guy
He's not.
for middleweight.
Like you said, he's squat. He's built like a tank. He's not a
Right.
long, lean guy.
Right. So I'm still sort of blown away, but it is true that Canelo does really want that fight. I'm hoping he just kind of went through a phase.
Yeah, and Anthony Yard, like I said, 18-0, 17 knockouts. Formidable record, but very, very untested. Also on Saturday, check your local listings. Juan Francisco Estrada, who might be the best Mexican fighter not named Canelo Alvarez. He is on The Zone from Mexico, then on FS1. Brandon Figueroa. Headlines. Mario, last Tuesday night at the Golden Boy offices, I was at a press conference where they announced their September 14th show in Carson, co-headlined by Ryan Garcia and Jaime Munguia. But guess who finally showed up? Oscar De La Hoya made a rare public appearance, and I asked him about what has it been like the last couple of weeks dealing with the Canelo drama.
Stressful, to say the least, but this is boxing.
this is boxing. I mean, it's not the first time that it's happened to us. It's not the last time. But I mean, we're looking to bring Canelo back in later this year and get a fight out there for the fans.
How's your relationship with him personally and professionally, in your view?
Good. We had a meeting here the other day, and for several hours, everything's good.
I keep hearing he does not want to fight Golovkin a third time, and that is a big issue. How big of a hurdle is that, and do you think we'll ever see that fight again?
Well, I strongly feel that that we will see a third fight. I strongly feel that being the warrior that Canelo is, and obviously being having Triple G being willing to fight Canelo again, I think the demand out there is there from the fans. I don't know how soon we will see it, but I think eventually we will.
Do you have more empathy? It was funny because you had your own battles when you were the big star with Bob Arum. Do you ever call Bob and say, geez, was I like this? Are you like that parent that becomes a grandparent and says, see, I told you little shit?
I've done it a long time ago, but it's not our first rodeo. Yeah. I mean, it's let's see. It's not our first rodeo. I think that it's going to continue happening. I think we have to just make sure that we deliver, and that's what we do best. We're going to be working with Canelo for many years to come.
So Mario, that's what De La Hoya says publicly to a guy like me. You're actually a guy that you have the Drake hotline to De La Hoya. You got the red phone. You got all the inside. What are you feeling about this union between Golden Boy and Canelo?
I think it's fine. I think like any relationship, it has its ups and downs. And some, listen, you start making $35 million a pop for every fight, then you're gonna start wanting to do things exactly your way, and not anxious to maybe appease everyone who you're working with at the. And to Canelo's credit, he's earned everything he's accomplished. Right? Nothing was given to him. But I think there's just ebbs and flows in a relationship, and they're all fine now. That's what I know.
There's an irony because at one point, years ago, Canelo was Oscar De La Hoya, and Oscar De La Hoya was Bob Arum. Yep. It's like, and you'll go through it one day with your kids when they're rowdy, they're not you're gonna say, one day when you have kids of your own, you'll know exactly what I'm doing here. And that's the way every parent tells me that when they were growing up, they hated their parents, but once they had their own kids,
I never hated my parents.
Or they had issues, but then they began to understand as they got older and they had their own kids. To me, there's a great irony here. As it relates to the zone, I was able to speak to Joe Markowski. He's their senior vice president of North America. I asked him, I know that there's a lingering issue with that third Golovkin fight. Do you think that's being resolved? Joe Markowski said two interesting things to me. He said, number one, we're making progress. So in other words, they'll let him have a fall fight against someone not named Golovkin. I believe Golovkin, we'll have news on him soon, will fight in October. I think he's going to fight in January or February. Then come next Cinco de Mayo. I think that's where the heat's going to be on Canelo to make the fight. Also, as it relates to Canelo's approved list by the zone, they've expanded the list. And one of the reasons why they did it was when the list was so short, everyone that was on that short list started leveraging financially. So they had to open up and deepen the pool. Right. So these guys realized, oh, wait a minute, there's 6 other guys that could take this fight.
I didn't mean 15. I meant 10.
Yeah, I'll even take 8.
Did I say 10?
I really meant 8. We must have a bad connection.
Exactly.
So that's the latest. And Mario, as we spoke about, September 14th, Jaime Munguia and Ryan Garcia co-headline on The Zone from Carson, California. And Mario, this fight was given last rites. In fact, people were digging the grave and throwing dirt on it, but it looks like it has new life. It has been resuscitated. And what do they say about the squeaky wheel? A couple weeks ago, Regis Prograis and his team said, we are suing to get out of the World Boxing Super Series. You've breached us 10 different ways. Then all of a sudden, the World Boxing Super Series says, wait a minute. Let's talk about this. And it looks like him and Josh Taylor might indeed finish off this tournament October 26th in London. Bravo.
Yes, this is one of the best fights that can be made, and I was really bummed when it was off.
It might be the best fight on the calendar, if you really think. One of the top 2 or 3 at least.
Right. You're exactly right. Next to the Ruiz-Joshua rematch, I agree with
you.
you.
And if Kovalev-Canelo happens, no matter what we think of the matchup, those 3 matchups right that I say to myself, that's top of the line.
This is, when you talk about the best fight and the best, this is exactly just that. Interesting to see how that plays out. Hopefully it continues to come to fruition. It's going to be in London. Fine. Will you be traveling for that?
No, I'll have the zone.
Okay.
I'll have the
that's
zone.
not Saudi Arabia. You can have a good time. in
Yeah,
London.
Mario, Tyson Fury last week made the rounds at the ESPN LA studios. I was able to spend some time with them. While he was on the Now or Never show, he blurted out that the rematch with Deontay Wilder would take place February 22nd in Viva Las Vegas. Okay, that's great. I have a question, though. When are they going to announce Wilder Ortiz the rematch? Remember that fight they announced about 3 months ago?
Wait, didn't they?
Yeah, what happened to it? I'm hearing now it's November 23rd.
Oh,
so-
wow, the date hasn't been live. I just assumed it was.
Yeah,
that's right.
And it went from September 28th
yeah.
to November 9th
Yeah.
to November 23rd. Is that boxing's version of checks in the mail?
They need to lock that down, especially with this fight looming. By the way, that's not a gimme either.
Right, and it's only 12, 13 weeks. And
Yeah.
look, back in the old days, you'd fight 3 times. Nowadays, if fighters don't get at least 3 months advance, they don't want to fight.
It's so unfortunate.
I was told by a very good source that November 23rd is the last week that Wilder or Fury could take a fight if they wanted to do February 22nd.
That'd be a fun Thanksgiving weekend right there.
Yes, it really would be. So we'll see if that absolutely happens. Let's go to the Ask Mario segment of the 3 knockdown rule. Let's see what we got here. So many things going on. Edgar Loya, any idea when Dmitry Bivol will fight next, and when can we expect Gennady Golovkin fight news? Okay, Gennady Golovkin, October 5th, will take on Sergey Derevchenko for the vacant IBF middleweight title. I think that's a good, solid fight.
That is a good fight.
Now,
Do you have a location on that?
Yes, it'll be Madison Square Garden. Now, Maury, don't you think that fight will tell us at age 37 exactly where Golovkin is at the world-class level?
Yes, and it might encourage, depending on how he looks, Canelo to, let's make that fight in May.
Yeah, he will be an interested bystander. And as for Bivol, my understanding is he could be on that Golovkin undercard or the next week in Chicago when Alexander Usyk makes his heavyweight debut. Oh, here's a UFC question. Alex Gomez, Diaz versus Masvidal. Who do you got?
Wow, he's referring to Diaz, who hadn't fought in 3 years, beating convincingly in every facet of the game, Pettis this past weekend. He looked great. And that was a hell of a card, the one Terrence Crawford happened to be at. Ooh, you know what? Man, that is a pick'em fight. That right now, just being at the stage, I don't like to count Diaz out, but he did look really, really good. But that is a pick'em fight, and good on him for wanting to fight such a dangerous guy like Masvidal.
By the way, did my boy Daniel Cormier lose?
Dude,
Not a good
Daniel,
night.
let's just go there for a second. First of all, Cormier, who is the only guy. He's 1 of 4 to hold 2 belts, but the only guy to defend those belts, right? And he was fighting Stipe Miocic, who was one of the greatest heavyweights ever, they say on paper, because of the number of times he's defended it. Dominated him for 3 rounds. His boxing, he's a little Ruiz-esque, those fast hands for a little chubby dude. But then, ironically, he took him down, and he was an Olympic wrestler. Miocic started hooking to the body, like Chavez.
Took the air out the balloon.
11 body shots, boom, and he dropped his hands, and then he landed at a 1-2, and they ended up stopping the fight with a barrage of punches coming in. But so great adjustment on Miocic's part. He could have literally coasted the last 2 rounds, and DC would have had it. But I think a little fatigue kind of came in, and he wasn't able to defend those body shots, so it ended up happening. But still, one of the greatest ever.
Are we getting a rubber match?
I'd like to see him retire. I don't think there's anything left to prove. You
mean Cormier?
Cormier. Dude,
Okay.
size matters for a reason.
Yeah.
Homeboy's 6'4.5" and like 260, and Cormier, I'm taller than Cormier. Okay? And so, because when I was here interviewing him, a great guy too, I couldn't get over how small he was fighting these big ass dudes, but it was a hell of a match. I think he'd still, like I said, he was winning those 3 rounds, and they have those 5-minute rounds. But man, I don't know if I'd like to see it. Conflicted.
Jose Jr. with no Melvin Gordon and Derwin James as Mario canceled his reservations for Miami in February.
Are we cursed or what? Every year, right? Remember Tyler Henry? Not Tyler Henry. What's homeboy's
Hunter
name?
Henry.
Hunter Henry. I always called him the psychic. That's the psychic kid on E. I always call him that. Hunter Henry. He got hurt at camp last year. The year before that, I forgot who got hurt. And now Derwin James, who is probably one of the best safeties in the league, even though he is a rookie or his second year. I can't believe it. Yo, that's definitely going to hurt us, man. Apparently had a screw in his
Loose,
foot,
yeah.
and it was a screw loose, literally.
Yeah.
And it came back and jacked him up. Are we doomed?
No, I don't think so. Safeties, look, unless it's like
He's
a
a
Sean
good one, though.
Taylor
He's a good
type or
one.
Ed Reed, I don't think he's at that level.
Why? I mean, he was kind of getting there, Kim. He was
But
pretty
I will
good.
say this. Melvin Gordon is a top 5-ish running back. I think he's the heartbeat of that offense as Phillip Rivers gets older. Got to bring him into camp.
Got to bring him in.
There's something about running backs that's being very disrespected in the National Football
They
League.
treat them like kickers now.
Right, and they carry the ball 25 or
I
touch
know.
the ball 25, 30 times. A good one. Here's a question from Big Drama Show. Why don't Mexican boxers speak English on air when they clearly know the language? Why? Just why? I think it's very simple. Some of them don't feel comfortable without their native tongue, and I think Golovkin's going through this. In the last year or so, Mario, he's not giving us the English sound bites like Big Drama Show or Are You Serious? He wants to speak in Russian because he wants to be very, very clear
Right.
in what he is stating.
Right.
And I think, look, if I'm in a foreign country, I would much rather do interviews in English and have someone interpret them than having my words taken out of context or not looking that intelligent with certain answers.
I agree with you. Little sound bites are fun every once in a while, but if you really want to get a point across, you got to speak in your native tongue.
Black Tower Radio out of Virgil Ortiz, Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, and Tio Lopez. Who do you think will be pound for pound top 10 in 5 years? I think all of them have a chance to be honest with you.
They do. Yeah, it remains to be seen. That's a tough call.
And Shakur Stevenson has a tough fight coming up against Joette Gonzalez. That fight could happen in October or November. I know that Top Rank and Golden Boy, they are negotiating that. And here's one from Ryan Scally, and I was asking and wondering about this also. I'm expecting a Viva Mario Lopez introduction in honor of that new Twitter handle. What's going on there?
So it was Mario Lopez Extra because Extra was the show that I've been on the last 11 years, and I wasn't a social media guy, and they made me get on it. Now I like it. It's fun, and the news, the memes, what have you. Excuse me. I'm no longer going to be working on Extra. I think we've discussed I'm making the transition over to NBC with Access Daily, Access Hollywood, and All Access. Those 3 shows, right? And I didn't want to be Mario Lopez. I didn't want to marry to anything, so I just figure. And then there's a Mario Lopez it could be a Mario Lopez like in Peru or something.
Yeah.
But this dude lives in Studio City and he doesn't even post anything. And he's trying to shake me down. I'm not gonna pay him. What do you want, like 10 grand from him? I was like, forget
How
that.
about Mario Lopez?
Screw that guy.
How about Mario Lopez Orale?
No, Mario Lopez Orale. That would have been funny. I just thought, you don't like Mario Lopez Viva?
I liked that. I was just interested. Like, oh, Viva.
Mario Lopez Viva.
Sean Gibbons would love it, by the way.
Yeah, on Instagram that's not the case though. They can if you've got the blue checkmark deal, they can give you can keep Mario Lopez. So that's good to know. It's good to know for you.
So
you can be Steve Kim.
So
too.
you're kind of like that guy at Spago's. If you're somebody getting to the back of the line, you get past the velvet rope.
Well, just
get
whatever.
that.
I guess if you're the Mario Lopez. But yeah. So anyway, if you follow me on Twitter, it is now Mario Lopez Viva.
Viva! Final question. Daily Boxing 365. What are your thoughts on a Navarrete Inoue fight in the future?
Ooh.
I absolutely love it, and I think it's very feasible. If Inoue, or I think when Inoue beats Donaire in the World Boxing Super Series final, I believe that's November 7th in Japan, there are strong indications that Inoue-san will sign with Top Rank. That puts them under the same umbrella. And Inoue, I believe, will be headed sooner or later to 122.
Ooh, domo arigato.
Bonsai!
Yes.
Let's go to the final flurries. Mario, today is a huge anniversary for you. Not you and Courtney. Saved by the Bell. 30th anniversary. Congratulations, man.
30 years ago, Saved by the Bell premiered. Damn, dude, I'm old. That makes me feel old. 30
Did you know
years.
what this show would mean to your life when you first got it?
Come on, it was a Saturday morning show. Of course not. But the fact that it's still on is a trip, and now whispers of a reboot, reimagining, revival. They're calling it all these kind of different things that kind of to explore.
Are you interested?
I'm always interested. You know, I have no ill will towards.
No, you don't. But would
experience and-
Dustin Diamond be invited?
I was always cool with Dustin.
Yeah,
I
you're
was
the one.
I was the only one.
You're the only one.
Because I'm cool with everybody.
I'm gonna call you Kissinger because you are the diplomat. Everyone else, he's
Damn.
kind of like
You
T.O.
went 70s.
Yeah, he's like T.O. with the Philadelphia Eagles. You may have been that one guy that was okay
We'll
with
see.
them.
We might not have all of the cast. We'll see if it happens.
Aw,
we'll see.
sorry,
what's
Dustin.
Up.
Yeah,
Who
man.
knows?
Hey, what's up with Belding? Where's he?
You know, Mr.
I haven't seen
Belding,
him on social
I've
in
got
months.
other ideas for Mr. Belding. I've got other ideas.
He is
Just a
alive
little
though, right?
tease.
Because he's not on social media anymore.
Well,
he
he
loves
kicks it with our radio producer. Was Tim Frazier, Smoking Tim Frazier? That's his boy.
Oh, okay.
They kick it. They like go out and stuff.
Butch Cassidy, the Sundance
Oh,
Kid.
he can't confirm he's alive either, so I don't know.
Oh,
what he
speaking
says.
of
See, there's here we go. There's
Kim should have fell out of his chair.
Why you? Hey, you quit breaking my shit, Kim. What's the matter with you? Falling out of
your
the
head
chair?
open?
God
Jesus
damn.
Christ.
First of all, let me just say,
What the hell happened? You never fell out of your chair. Kim.
Mario is clearly fucking high right now.
Frazier, don't be ashamed of your
Because
friendship, dude.
This is the guy who Mr. Belding had told us during an interview once. They went to the Glendale Mall to look at puppies together.
Stupid. That's your boy, Frazier. Don't lie.
He's the guy at your 30th anniversary party for your to celebrate you being in the business that long. Literally knocked women out of the way to get to you when you walked in.
It's cool. You made Kim fall out
Kim
of his
okay?
chair,
He's
dude.
still- you hit your head?
Forget Kim. Is the chair okay?
I
I'll
think-
make sure the
I think-
chair's okay.
Kim has a
That's
concussion,
restoration hardware.
and the chair looks okay.
Holy smokes.
Don't talk about Frazier's friend
Yeah.
Belding anymore, dude. He got very
This
passionate.
is what happens when you
Oh
lie.
my God. Oh
No
my
shit,
God.
you got gel on the floor. Dude, he totally wiped out.
There is gel on the floor.
I hope we recorded that. Can we record that?
I got it all.
Wipe your dap off the
By the
floor,
way,
Kim.
I love that Mario's first concern was, how's the chair?
I know. Forget Kim. Well, how's the chair? I don't jack up the chair. Is the floor okay? Is the floor okay? Damn it. That was
dang.
cold as ice.
I remember years ago at 2 houses ago, we're waiting.
houses ago.
We're waiting. We had to get together. And Belding just walks through the patio.
Because he came with Frazier.
And no. And we all just looked at each other saying, was that Belding? No, that was speaking of a reboot that's terrible.
Wait a minute. You
speaking-
called this one terrible?
No,
Wait,
it hasn't happened
Wait,
yet.
is this your 90210
Yeah, let me get-
review? Because hold on, let me set it up. 90210 did whatever, revival, reboot, whatever you want to call it, reimagining. But I'm saying
What a-
they did huge numbers when it premiered. It was like the biggest number of the summer. I don't know how the second installment
Dropped
did.
40%.
Was it still pretty good though? Or?
No.
No, it dropped 40%. I predict the third week.
No, I
which-
don't mean good in quality. Was that number still pretty good? Did it still win its time slot? Do you know? Or
Oh, I don't know if it won the time slot, but I know it dropped 40%, and I predict this week, which I think is, tomorrow night?
Maybe it's last show.
Probably going to drop even
did
more.
you see it?
That's like the
I have
XFL.
not seen it.
Well, Kim has seen it. Give me the review.
All right, that's
Kim.
like the XFL. First of all, it's very confusing because I thought it was just going to be the 90210 as 90210. I didn't realize everyone was playing themselves in their quote-unquote real life. The show is very confusing, and beyond that, Mario, it's depressing. None of these people are likable. You kind of feel bad for all of them.
Now hold on, let me interrupt you for a second. It's them as
Playing
themselves.
Jason
playing,
Priestley.
Jason Priestley playing Brandon Walsh.
No, Jason Priestley playing Jason Priestley in 2019, and
Trying to pitch Brandon Walsh for a new show.
no,
This is like Inception. What's
Right.
going on right here?
Tori Spelling is the one that is trying to gather everyone, but the show's premise is that they've all moved on, they're all miserable, they're all having midlife crises,
And they all need paychecks.
and they all need paychecks.
Wait, they signed on for that? Sounds awful.
and
That's not
so-
going to be Saved by the Bell.
And even Shannon Doherty comes back, and who's like the Screech of that show. Well, very unlikable. Very unlikable in terms of
Cold
her
as
relation.
ice.
Yeah, so,
What about that elderly lady?
Oh, she's in there. Andrea Zuckerman. Yes. Okay.
You guys are cold as ice.
And you know what? She does look 25 years older than everyone on that show. So, and anyway, as I'm watching the first show, I'm wondering why is Brandon Walsh being called Jason by everybody? And it took me, I was like, wait a minute, are they actually playing themselves, talking about their 90210 experience at some sort of reunion? The show is depressing. It's slow. I've given it 2 shots. I might give it a third.
So you gave the second one didn't get any better.
I thought it got worse because the premise is
wow.
bad, and these people aren't that likable. They're kind of all miserable.
Wow. Okay, so I know what not to do. Thank you very much. I would say, is it fair to say the way to do a reboot, revival, reimagining,
Just do
whatever?
the show.
Well, hold on. A good example, though, of the way it could be executed is like Cobra Kai, correct?
Yes.
So that's a good
Evolve
example.
the storyline into the time frame. And the other thing is 90210 actually had a kind of a revival back 4 or 5 years ago on KTLA. What's it called? The CW? where they actually.
That would be the CW.
Yeah, okay. What I
Oh,
watch
that was
old
another
school
like a
WWE.
new version.
And
right,
by
right,
the way,
right.
I thought that was pretty good. Look, I'm a 90210 connoisseur.
Obviously.
I really believe Somewhere 90210 is one of the great episodic television series of all. It was revolutionary.
But you're not liking this new one.
No. Also, one other thing. I want Hard Knocks. You know, ask me what's my favorite season of Hard Knocks. It's this one with John Gruden. The guy is hilarious. Forget Antonio Brown. He can go lose his helmet, his head. John Gruden, literally, they should have a show on him every single year.
Really?
Yeah, he just cusses throughout the whole thing. He's funny. And then halfway through the last show, he goes, I need to stop cussing so much. And then he just cusses throughout the whole thing. That's probably the best season that they've had. One other thing. How are your Dodgers doing? Are you worried about them at all?
But worried? We're 19 games in first place.
The
What you mean?
bullpen.
The
That
bullpen
bullpen,
does
I'm
concern me.
telling
I'll
you,
tell you
the
who I tell you who's scary right now is Houston. Astros now, and then they got Greinke. That's scary, man. Real quick before we left off, what do you make of this whole Jay-Z NFL thing? What happened to believe in something even if it means sacrificing everything?
Well, he's a businessman. To me, it was insincere support for a protest that I always thought was a little bit sketchy. And Eric Reed I kind of respect Eric Reed because he's sticking by his guns. Colin is not really saying anything. He's letting Eric Reed and all these other lesser players. And look, Colin got paid. He got a Nike deal out of it. To me, what in the 3 years that this has gone on, tell me what has been achieved by Colin Kaepernick in this whole protest. And by the way, other players that are protesting, like Kenny Stills against his own owner for support of Trump, he has a job. So tell me exactly what was achieved.
I think there was an olive branch by the NFL saying, okay, let's move past this.
Right.
Let's start trying to do stuff focusing on the community. So we'll see. But it is interesting to see how social media was split.
Right.
On the way this was being handled.
Right. So weekend plans, what do you got?
Going to Toronto.
All
Of
right.
all places.
Home
yeah.
with Joe Carter.
Yeah.
93 world champs.
There you go. Or Drake.
Or
the world champion Raptors.
Yeah. I will be in Orlando for the first game of the Manny Diaz era. Manny, let Jaron Williams lose.
That's right. You're a Miami fan. So weird. You need to get an Allegiance closer player. That's
that's
far.
good. It's
I just
America.
made that trip. That's not a far. That's not a close flight.
You might want to get a CT scan first because you just hit
No,
your
I'm
head
good.
pretty
I'm
hard.
good.
Hey, can we get that? We got to post that. Please tell me you're recording.
I did a
record
CT
this whole
scan a
thing.
while ago. There wasn't much there.
I'm gonna post that. I'm gonna post that.
Anyway, that's it for this week's edition of the 3 Knockdown Rule. On behalf of Mario Viva Lopez, this is
Viva!
Steve Kim saying goodbye, everybody.
That was good.